Hello there and welcome to OpenTuition's ACCA financial reporting course. I'm Chris Barlow and you're going to get sick of the sight of me over the coming months. I'm going to go through there and take you right the way throughout the course. So you'll see me in the lectures, I've prepared the class notes, I've prepared the practice questions. When you ask questions on the Ask the Tutor forum, I will be the tutor going through there and responding to your questions. Even though you may get sick of me, hopefully we can work together and we can go through there and make your journey enjoyable, but also successful. So, what are we going to go through and cover in this introduction? Well, first of all, I'm just going to go through there and talk you through the syllabus. So, we are here starting with September 2019. So, that will take us from September 19 to December 19 to March 20 and to June 20. So, this is the focus of this introduction and of the videos themselves. We're going to talk a little bit about assumed knowledge because you should all have sat financial accounting, or F3 to give it its old name, or at least you should have had an exemption from studying it under the ACCA. Okay, so maybe you've studied it elsewhere and got the exemption. It's important that you have that knowledge brought forward. Don't worry if you think you've forgotten it, you won't have. It'll be somewhere there right at the back of your memory and it will soon become familiar to you. We're going to talk about the exam in two ways. We're going to talk about the structure of it in terms of the sections, the questions, how to go through there and think about your timing. We're also going to talk about the pass rates. I can say now it averages 50. There we go. Move on. We're going to look at the resources as well in two ways. We're going to look at what's available on the ACCA website and also what's available on our website at OpenTuition. If you use all of the resources that we provide, all of the resources that the ACCA provide, then you will have no problem whatsoever passing this exam. You just need to apply yourself. And then we'll talk about the keys to success. How are you going to ensure that using the resources, you're going to go through and pass? So let's go through there and talk about the syllabus. As I said, this is for exams from September 2019 onwards. If you've gone through and previously sat financial reporting before and weren't successful and you're attempting it again, bear in mind there are no drastic changes to the syllabus from when it was last updated. The only changes to the syllabus this time around are to do with the framework. Okay, so that's the part A of the syllabus, whereby it talks about the conceptual and regulatory framework. So you will have seen the framework previously in financial accounting, but the key bit here is that when you're examined in financial reporting, is it's not just about the knowledge of the recognition criteria, of the definitions, of the different measurement bases, of the qualitative characteristics, so the fundamental characteristics and the enhancing characteristics. It's all about the application of them. So we'll go through there and ensure that you are up to speed with how to apply those definitions within an IFRS or IAS perspective. Okay. Part B is all about accounting for the transactions in accordance with international accounting standards. So that's where you get all your IFRSs and IASs. So that's whereby you need to go back to the examinable documents that you have on the ACCA website, and you'll be able to get a list there of everything that is examinable on the financial reporting syllabus. So essentially, we've got revenue under IFRS 15, leases under IFRS 16. They were the latest updates and they stay the same here within financial reporting now. You then need to go through there and analyze and interpret financial statements. So we sometimes refer to that as the ratio analysis. No, it's more than just calculating ratios. You need to be able to analyze the movement and be able to explain why that movement has happened in either a balance or a ratio. Many of you will find that difficult because a lot of you are studying independently and maybe don't have a job currently that is in relation to the accounting profession. So therefore, you're not learning on the job about analysing company financial statements. Fear not, you just need to use the information that's given within the question in the exam and also your experience from doing past paper questions. and questions in the revision kit of your chosen tuition provider. And then the final bit, part D of the syllabus, is about your financial statements. So here we're going to prepare financial statements for single entities. So statements of financial position, statements of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, or a statement of changes in equity. As it stands, we haven't seen a statement of cash flows being asked to prepare. You never know, it could appear, but I would have thought that it is unlikely. Okay, you tend to see it covered in a bit of detail in financial accounting, and then you see the group element of it in strategic business reporting. You also then need to look at presenting financial statements for a business combination. What's that? Groups. So you've touched upon groups briefly in financial accounting. You need to be able to prepare those financial statements for a group. So your consolidated accounts for your balance sheet, income statement, should I say statement of profit or loss at this level. So the two things that you need to look at. Statement of financial position for the group, statement of profit or loss for the group as well. Okay. So let's look at the assumed knowledge. You sat there going, Chris, I've got no knowledge. I've forgotten it all. No, you haven't. So you need to know the format of your published company accounts. You know, I challenge you before you start looking at any of the class notes, just write down on a blank page of paper, what does a statement of financial position look like? What are the categories? What are the headings? Statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income as well. And also the statement of change in equity. Can you write down a template for each of those financial statements? Can you? I should hope that you can. Okay. If not, you're going to have to improve as you go along. Inventory. How do you value inventory? Yeah, lower of cost and NRV. That's pretty much what we see again in financial reporting. Nothing more exciting than that. Property, plant and equipment, IS 16. What you have there is effectively looking at capitalising the asset, depreciating the asset, revaluing the asset, disposing of the asset to get a gain or loss on disposal. That's it. That's what you've seen in financial accounting. That's what I say you'll see in financial reporting, but based upon the structure of the exam, it's very difficult to get those fundamental basic elements in to a question, but we'll talk about that later. Intangibles, it was within the financial accounting syllabus. I think maybe all you can recall is that you can capitalise them at cost, and then instead of depreciating them, you amortise them, and you cannot revalue them. We advance it a little bit further within financial reporting with regards to what costs you can capitalise, the different types of intangibles that there may be. We look a little bit more specifically about not being able to revalue intangibles, because technically you can, but there just needs to be an active market. But again, we'll touch upon that in the videos. Provisions, so accounting for uncertainty, looking at contingent liabilities, contingent assets as well. Remember, a provision, present obligation, past event, probable outflow of economic benefit, measure reliably. Same rules apply. You need to apply them in financial reporting. Events after the reporting period, adjusting, non-adjusting. Again, we'll recap that. Basic group accounts you've seen. You may not have gone through and covered them in great detail because it is a reasonably small part of the financial accounting syllabus, but nonetheless it is still there. We will go through, we will recap it, and we will advance it further. So you should know the basics of consolidation, adding across the assets, liabilities, income, expense on a line by line basis, being able to calculate goodwill, group retained earnings. We just go through and take it a little bit further next. Other bits from financial accounting, statements of cash flows. Like I said, I don't think you really see much of statements of cash flows based upon the past exams. That doesn't say it's not examinable. It is. It's in the syllabus, but we haven't really seen much of it. And then you've got your analysis and interpretation. In financial accounting, you've calculated loads of ratios. You can calculate them again and get some easy marks in this exam, but you then need to go through there and look at the actual interpretation of them. Yeah, looking at the movement in the balance, the movement in the ratio, and explaining why it has moved. The exam structure, subtle changes from what you may have sat previously if you're taking the exam again. Section A, 15 multiple choice questions, which will cover the entire syllabus. So the framework, accounting standards, analysis and interpretations. Each of those is worth 2 marks each, choice of A, B, C or D. Section B is sort of a continuation of the multiple choice questions. You've got 3 questions, each one with 5 multiple choice questions within. Continuing the theme, each one is still worth 2 marks, i.e. each multiple choice question. So for each question overall, there's 10 marks available. Each of those overall questions tend to focus on an area of the syllabus. So it could be usually on some IFRSs and IASs. So it could focus specifically on property, plant and equipment. It could focus on financial instruments. It could focus on leases. It could focus on revenue. There's nothing to say that there could be a mix of standards within there. It could be that there's some analysis in there, but we tend to go through and see the accounting standards examined within there. Section C, 2 questions, 20 marks each, so that makes up the final 40 marks in total. So there's 30 marks in Section A, 30 marks in Section B, and 40 in Section C. The Section C questions will cover the interpretation of financial statements and also the preparation of financial statements, either for an individual or group of companies. So it tends to be that one question is purely focused on the preparation of financial statements. So that could be for a group or individual entity. And then the other question will have a little bit of financial statements in there for 5 or 6 marks. And then the remaining marks related to the interpretation of financial statements. So 4 or 5 marks for the calculation of ratios, and then the remaining marks for the narrative, the actual interpretation and the analysis therein. For the exam, you've got 3 hours. I think that's where there may be in the subtle change. 3 hours in the exam, 100 marks for 180 minutes of the exam. That's 1.8 minutes per mark. You look at me and go, so what? 1.8 minutes per mark? It's so important. If you don't stick to your time, you're in trouble. So Section A, 15 multiple choice questions, 2 marks each, that's 30 marks, times by 1.8 is 54 minutes in total. No more. As soon as you get to 54 minutes, move on. Section B, 3 questions, each one has 5 MCQs worth 2 marks, so that's 10 marks for each of those Section B questions, 18 minutes each. So 18 on B1, 18 on B2, 18 on B3. Yeah, because all of a sudden, if you spend 20 minutes on B1, 20 minutes on B2, that's 4 minutes extra, and you've then only got 14 minutes for the final question. And then you start to panic and start running out of time. So focus. And then Section C, each one's worth 20. 20 times 1.8 is there as 36 minutes for each question. Again, stick to your timings. There's the rule of diminishing returns. The longer you spend on a particular question, the fewer marks you're going to get, because you should already have gained the easier marks in the question, and you are therefore losing marks on the following question and reducing your overall marks in the exam. Move on when the time is up so you can get the easier marks in the following question. It's as simple as that. The pass rate, like I said, not very exciting, is there? Averages somewhere between 47 and 51, so it's pretty consistent. No changes there. The resources on the ACCA website, you've got the link there. You can just go to the ACCA website and follow it through. The resources are split out into computer-based exams and paper-based exams. What I've got up there covers everything. I think key bits, if you are doing a computer-based exam, look at the introduction to the CBEs. It's really important that you practice using the software before you go into the final exam. You've also got the syllabus, study guide, examinable documents. You've seen all that before previously from other exams under the ACCA. The bit that I think is really important is that middle one, the examining team guidance. So you're not going to see every exam published. You get a hybrid of the March and June together, a hybrid of the September and December exam together. But if you look at the examining team guidance, there's actually additional questions in there for you to practice using what's come up within the exam. And also it gives you an idea of what students are answering well and what students aren't answering so well. And then in terms of the learning and the revision elements, this is where you're going to see the past exam papers. This is where you see the specimen exams. Again, if you're doing the computer-based exams, it's brilliant because you're able to practice a computer-based exam using the software. If you don't practice using the software, you're in trouble. Then at the bottom, you've got your technical articles. Again, really useful to get another, if you like, view upon accounting standards, upon the framework. So go through, read what they say. Again, there's some additional examples within there. They are highly, highly useful. All those resources are free. They're not free technically. You're paying them by entering into the exam. But you need to make the most of them. If you don't, more the fool you. Genuinely free resources from ourselves at OpenTuition. What have you got? The class notes. I've prepared the class notes. I think I've got rid of all the errors within there. There were never all that many initially, but there's always one or two little bits and pieces where there might be a typo or a slight miscalculation. I haven't got anybody to check them. Okay, you out there can, if you so wish. If you spot a mistake, let me know. So I prepare the class notes. I deliver the tuition videos as well, the lectures. Again, feel free to go through and watch them at your own pace. Ask any questions on the forum. There are some practice questions as well. They are multiple choice style questions on each of the different chapters. So once you've covered the class notes and looked at the videos, maybe done some questions from the study text of your chosen tuition provider, then you can practice our questions there online. There's some flashcards as well that you can go through that help you understand the standards in a bit of detail. Revision videos, I'll be updating those as I go along and preparing more revision videos that focus upon the past exams, both paper-based and computer-based. And then there's the ACCA Tutor forum. Please use the ACCA Tutor forum. Try not to post the questions directly underneath the videos as you go through them. I check the forum and it's easier then to see your questions and for me to answer them. Before you ask your question, do try and check to see whether the question has been asked before, because that will then save you the time and also myself the time as well. Okay. Key to success, what you need to do, work hard. But hard work doesn't just win the day. It's about how you work hard. So you need to understand the basics. Don't get involved in the nitty-gritty. Make sure you know that assumed knowledge and then the basics of every standard. Once you know that, make sure you cover the entire syllabus. Don't leave bits of the syllabus out. Because if you leave bits of the syllabus out, there might be a couple of multiple choice questions. There might be a part within the syllabus that is tested within section C in the published company account. So the whole syllabus is going to be examined in some capacity. So don't miss out parts of the syllabus. Then you need to go through, and when it comes to answering questions, don't try and get it 100% right. I'm sure no one's going to get the whole exam right. There might be one person every so often, but other than that, focus on getting the easier parts correct first. If you get them right, you're going to pass. Then try the more challenging bits and then move on. If you're going to try and get the more difficult bits, you're not going to pass the exam. You might pass that question, but the length of time it will take you to do those challenging bits means you leave no time for the rest, and therefore you're not able to attempt the easier parts on those other questions. The rule of diminishing returns. Question practice. If you don't practice the questions within your revision kit, the questions that you've got on the ACCA website, you're not going to be able to apply your knowledge in the exam. When you're doing the questions, particularly when it gets to the revision phase, make sure you do it under timed conditions. And don't look at the answer. No, don't. Why? The answer's not going to be there within the exam. You need to get used to that scenario of being stuck. What do? You move on. You don't sit there and go, oh, what should I do? I know, I'll look at the answer. No. No, there's nothing there, is there? So in the exam, there's no answer. So treat your practice as if there's no answer as well. I know there's answers at the back of your revision kit, but wait till you finish the question and then look at the answer, because then you can learn from your mistakes. Okay. And then use us. Okay. Use your peers. Yeah. You've got the forums. Use the ACCA Tutor forum. I'll be the one that's answering the questions for you. So feel free to put the questions on there and I'll do my best to go through there and answer them as quickly as is possible. Don't expect an immediate response. Address me courteously if you don't mind. Hellos, thank yous are always welcome. And make sure there that I can understand what your question is. If not, I'll just ask you to repeat it in a little bit more detail so that I can then answer it. But if you go through and follow those steps there, you're not going to go too far wrong in getting that pass mark of 50%. Okay. All that remains to be said is good luck, enjoy the course, and I'll see you as we go along. Take care.